Hello, Andrew.
Okay.
We are streaming
Hey,
live in Mini
thank you.
Buddhi Yoga. Welcome to Mini Buddhi Yoga community. I will
Thank you.
share.
So nice to be here.
How are you today, Andrew?
Very good.
Very good. So I will
Thank you for
share
having me.
really quick and then we will start. Let's see if people are connected. And I will let you
Yep.
know. Yeah, now people are watching.
Okay.
So I'm so sorry. I will speak in Spanish a little bit just to introduce and apologize our
Of
delay.
course. No need to apologize. It's your language. It's a beautiful language.
It is. Hola chicos, bienvenidos. Ya hay 6 personas. There are 6 people now connected. Hola chicos, bienvenidos. Está Andrew el día de hoy con nosotros y va a estar platicando un poco sobre su documental, sobre su práctica. Vamos a platicar muy a gusto con Andrew. Entonces vamos a empezar. Ya están ahí. Si quieren ir preguntando, yo le traduzco a Andrew. Después se va a transmitir en YouTube y va a haber subtítulos y lo podrán ver. Entonces, thank you very much, Andrew, to be with us. We are very excited.
Thank you.
So, can you introduce yourself? Where do you live? What do you do? So people can know you. I have been talking about you a lot. But some details they don't know. They don't know where you live, and what do you do for living, for example. So it will be nice that you introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. Well, my name is Andrew Eppler, obviously, and I live in Oklahoma, just outside of Norman. And my wife Mila and I are here. We run a Ashtanga Yoga studio. And we are currently building a retreat center here on our family property. And I've been teaching Ashtanga Yoga for, I don't know, probably about 25 years or so. And I first started yoga when I was 14 years old with a very little known teacher called Cliff Barber. And I went to India in 1990 for the first time and studied with Patabi Joyce. And then in a later trip, I discovered Sri BNS Iyengar. And since that time, for the last, I think 25 years or so now, I've been studying with Sri BNS Iyengar and going back and forth to Mysore as often as my life allows. And I'm very passionate about teaching yoga to all sectors of society, whether it's young people or elderly people, whether it's people who are struggling with some kind of health problem or mental problem, or whether it's very bright athletic people who want to take yoga into other dimensions. So that's what came to me today.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that you have been a pioneer in your area. There was no yoga when you started, correct? Nobody practicing yoga there in your
Absolutely.
town?
Oklahoma was sort of a yoga desert back in the day, and I remember thinking how much I would like to have uh, friends to do yoga with, and sort of a yoga community, and there was no such thing in those times. So nowadays, of course, there are lots of different studios and groups of people practicing, but
Yeah,
I
but
had the pleasure of introducing yoga in my area.
definitely. So now the yoga studios that there are around there is because you train these people, correct? Most of them took the training with you, or it's not all.
A lot of the teachers around have, in fact, done my trainings, or they're long-term students and friends of mine, but not all. But I think I contributed something for sure.
I guess you did. So we are very interested about your documentary. you traveled to India and you did a project by yourself. So you didn't have any company, any sponsor. You did by yourself, following a dream, correct? Your Mysore Yoga Traditions documentary.
Oh, with Mysore yoga traditions?
Yes. How was the
Well,
process, the project?
I did have a quite a lot of help.
Okay.
Mysore yoga traditions began from my desire to document Guruji's philosophy, and it really just occurred to me at one point that he will not be with us forever, and at some point he's going to pass, and it would be such a shame if that great knowledge was lost and no one wrote it down or tried to document. So making a video seemed to me like the best possible way. And I did have a lot of help. And my dear friends, Bryce Delbridge and Joey Paz and Dallas Paz was our camera guy, and Kelly O'Rourke was our still photography person, and she also was very generous and helped us out quite a bit with some startup revenue. And really, the whole project sort of happened by grace. It started off with this desire to document Guruji's teachings, and after a couple of years of asking him, "Oh, can I make a video of you? What about making a documentary? Do you think we could do this?" He finally said yes on his 90th birthday, or just before his 90th birthday. And then he changed his mind. After we had bought tickets and a bunch of camera equipment and got completely ready, he thought about it, and he turned around and said, "No, I don't want a documentary about myself. I'm not going to do it. Sorry." And we had to have a discussion about whether we, in fact, wanted to go. And I had to tell my crew, "Look, guys, I don't know if this is going to happen." But we actually decided to do it, and we all love him. And video or no, we wanted to go and be near him and to practice with him. And we never know for sure if we're going to see him again in this life, and because he is elderly, so we went. And through all kinds of interesting circumstances, we were given all this access, and because he pushed aside the idea to make a video about himself only, which was where we started. Then we were forced to try to make some interviews with the whole community. And there was one particular moment that was key, because we went to meet the principal of the Maharaja's Sanskrit College in Mysore, and that's the school where Krishnamacharya taught and where Pattabhi Jois taught, and we had no idea what this person would be like. So we went to his house, and rather than being a sort of like white collar academic sort of guy, he was like a sadhu in orange clothes and doing ceremony. And he asked me to come and put some ghee on the fire at the ceremony. And when I did, this little floating deity moved across a bowl of water. And at that, because of that, I don't know, he clapped his hand to his chest and said something in Sanskrit. And based on that, we were given access to the library at the Sanskrit College, to all of the professors at the Sanskrit College, to the whole community, really. We didn't realize what we had done because that thing moved across the bowl of water. And India is like that, as you well know after all your
Yes.
time there. He saw that as an omen, and for whatever reason, he decided to share his information with us. So we just got very lucky, and we were able to meet all of these amazing scholars, and what came out of that was really that we came to understand that Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga didn't come from just one person or one family. It really comes from a whole community of people, from a university, And if it should come from a family, it's the royal family of Mysore who has cultivated yoga and practiced yoga in their community for generations, actually, and compiled a library. And Krishnamacharya was hired by the king, and those were the people sort of directing this thing and saying that no, you have to teach women, you have to teach everybody, you have to teach the whole community this asana practice, and we don't care about the sort of orthodox principles of Hinduism. We want it shared with everyone, and that really came from the royal family. And so we I think the basic inquiry behind Mysore yoga traditions is just that okay, we've been practicing these asanas for, I don't know, 40 years or so in the Western culture, and we would like to know what to do next. And we would like to know what yoga means to the community and the culture from which it came. And it turns out that it means something very different to them. And they don't necessarily appreciate or agree with the way Western practitioners are doing asanas. And they, more or less in a nutshell, feel like we're just stuck on the asanas and we're using the asanas to enjoy our senses more and to become more immersed in the gratification of the senses. And that asana practice, it's true, makes you healthy, it makes you strong, it makes you vibrant. And of course, you're more sexy and you're more fun and you have more power and you can use that however you want. And you can use it to entangle yourself more and more into material life, or in the case of a very few of us, and who would even be interested, you could use the practices of asana to purify your nervous system and try to go inside and understand something about life, about God, about the nature of reality, about the soul, about spiritual practice. And in their own way, each of them basically indicated that we should really go beyond this asana. And we should try to do something
More.
more. And that's something that I really appreciate and admire about you, Rebecca. You went right for the pranayama and right for the scholarship and going deep into Bhagavad Gita, going deep into Patanjali Sutras, and so we're all on this journey together.
Definitely.
And we we are, but that's essentially the story of Mysore yoga traditions. And just that we had such an amazing time talking to these great people, and it was a kind of a high. We would go and ask them questions, and sometimes they would answer our questions, sometimes they would just talk, and but it was always very high energy, and they somehow reacted very, very positively to being asked questions and interviewed. And it was a life changing spiritual experience for us, each of us. And we thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could bring a whole bunch of our friends here and they could meet these guys and have the same experience? So that's essentially what Mysore Yoga Traditions Retreat and Conference was all about. It's just why don't we share this with the world? It was so much fun doing these interviews and making these videos. Why not just let other friends come and ask the questions that they have and try to open up a channel of communication with the whole community of Mysore, with the Sanskrit College, with these elderly scholars, many of whom are in their 80s or 90s, and if these people pass and never have a chance to speak to the world and really share the amazing wisdom that they have, it's everybody's loss. It's everybody's loss. And it turned out that they love to talk to an international group of people, and they're very happy to share their wisdom with we sort of represent the whole world because we're from many different countries, and everybody comes together because of a common interest in yoga, and then there we all are, and all these different people, many of which are very knowledgeable. They're not beginning yoga practitioners, and everyone's welcome, of course. And some people are beginners, but a lot of senior teachers and people who started yoga in their country or their community. And so the Sanskrit scholars, as you saw, they pick right up on that, and they really share a lot of information that we have never heard before. And
Definitely.
so that's my passion, really, is just to open up a deeper dialogue between India and the rest of the world. And the international yoga community is diverse, and it has multi facets and directions. And some people are just about money. Some people are really deep in the spirituality. But as a whole, the international yoga community it deserves more information than just this very narrow bit that we have experienced so far.
Definitely.
So yeah, they have so much to say.
Yeah, I guess it is very interesting that you didn't stop with the documentary. You can only stop it, and who cares? But you open a window, open a door to access to this world, to access to these teachers. Because as a Western and traveling, it's very hard to reach these scholars. Because they are busy, it's hard to contact them. But you open a window, you open an opportunity for us to have 10 days full of classes, full of master classes, and access with these scholars that we can really learn a lot. I was impressed because when I saw the schedule, I was wondering how much we can learn with 1 hour, correct, of a class. But these scholars are impressed how wise men are because in 1 hour they can teach us like ninjas, sharp, clearly focused, and we really learn a lot with 1 hour per teacher. It's not like a limitation. Otherwise, they are so wise that they can teach us so good in 1 hour that we can study 1 year with one only class. So many topics that we learn in that conference. So I guess you open a window with a lot of topics. There was not only yoga. We talk about philosophy, correct? Ayurveda, about all the topics
Yeah.
that you choose. Can you share with us all the topics that you like to share with the Western yoga community? Not only asanas. You don't focus only in asanas.
Right. Well, the majority of the elder scholars, they're not really about asana. They admire it, and of course, there's our dear friend T.R.S. Sharma, who many people have seen the famous picture of Krishnamacharya standing on the kid in Kapotasana, holding his feet, and that is Sharma. In fact, that kid is our friend and who lectures in the classes. Um, they speak on many different topics, and again, I've been astounded. And of course, I'm sort of there standing up between the two, between the group of foreign practitioners and then these senior scholars, and I don't always know how that's going to go. And some people they connect more than others. But again and again, I've just been astounded. And some old guy comes limping in and he speaks kind of quiet, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know if this is going to go well. And 15 minutes later, that brilliance starts to come out, and people are highly receptive, and I just seen again and again. One of our high moments, I felt like this time, some one of the a gentleman by the name of H.G. Narasimhan, who's the curator of Jagan Mohan Palace, came. And he wasn't about asana, and everybody was a little bit like, oh no, okay, what is he going to talk about? History or something. But the thing is, he opened up the history of Mysore in a way that we've never seen. And pretty soon we had pictures of the Sri Tatvanidhi, and all of these scholars who could read Kannada and ancient
Yes.
Kannada, analyzing these pictures of asanas and telling us what they were. We were trying the asanas and having a really amazing conversation. So we've just been surprised a million ways with the kind of academic brilliance that the scholars of Mysore have, with their ability to remember the scriptures that they have actually memorized in their mind. Some of these guys
Yes.
are in their 80s, and they can quote the entire Bhagavad Gita line by line, and they know what every little bit of it means, and all the different innuendos and nuances and things that are specific to their particular religious doctrine. And I think that's been another really beautiful thing to realize, that yoga is science in their minds. And they are religious people, and they have their religion.
Yes.
And they see, religion is sort of like a very personal thing. And then they see yoga and yoga philosophy as a broad thing for everybody and all cultures. So they draw that distinction. And as foreign practitioners, we don't always know where that line lies. I mean, the majority of us are, maybe we're not like uh, what we would call a devout Christian, but we come from a Christian culture.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In Mexico, you guys have your native
Catholic.
traditions, but it's
Yes.
Catholic. It's primarily Catholic, and here also we have this Christian way of seeing, and so to see religion and spirituality sort of separated a little bit, so that everybody can experience something and not have to worry about their personal identity or their personal faith. That's that's a kind of gracious way that I've seen the scholars of Mysore present their material. That's been very inspiring.
Definitely.
So all the subjects, I can't possibly, everything from like neurophysiology to psychology to history to Sanskrit literature, and I mean, obviously the Bhagavad Gita is a big thing, and the um, Patanjali Sutras is also very important. Um, but then there's just very practical things, Sankhya philosophy, Ayurveda, and again and again it comes around to Sankhya again. And if we think that we know about yoga, but we don't understand Sankhya, we
We are
we're
lost.
missing like
Yes.
half the picture. So, and I did not know that until I went to Mysore and started doing all this interviewing and talking to these guys. And to be totally honest, a lot of what they say is right over my head. I'm just right there with everybody else, learning, and just happy to be there to deepen my own knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I was surprised in the conference is that our teachers are seniors. In Western world, seniors, they are losing minds, losing mobility, they losing motion and skills to live. And in India, seniors are super sharp. They, of course, they can walk slowly, but they are sharp in mind, sharp in heart. They are really, really impressive how good they are. So we can see the potential of the human being with these scholars. It's like a real inspiration, like a whole package. Not only the knowledge, it's like how they live, how they inspire young people. And in Western world, normally the teachers are young people, dancers. It's different, the yoga teachers here than the scholars in India. So how wise they can be, and they can live freely, sharp in mind at the end of their lives. And one of your teachers is Dr. Tatachar. He is very, very impressive and
Yeah.
inspiring. So, and it's good to share that you are a really good yoga teacher, but you are continue studying, you are continue taking classes, you are continue reading, so you never stop. So I guess it's good to inspire yoga teachers that even though they took one TTC, they can continue learning and choose one yogi, one teacher to continue studying. So for you, how is to have like a Dr. Tatachar as your teacher right now to contact him?
Oh, if I understand your question, my studying with Sri Lakshmi Tadachar Swami is one of the most precious things in my life. Actually, I I've been, I think, 2.5, 3 years now making regular calls with him. And when I first realized that he would even talk to me, I was so afraid to call him actually.
I
And
understand.
and then I just told him, I said, hey, if you're willing to talk to me, I'm going to call you because I. I think about you all the time, and I'm just going to call you and ask you questions about yoga if you don't mind. And so then I would have to think of something. And at some point, I just had the idea to ask him to teach me about Bhagavad Gita. So that was really a lucky thing, and it was the right thing because that's right at the core of his doctrine and of the Natamuni Sampradaya philosophy. And one of the things that I learned about Sri Tadachar and that I'd never heard of before is that Krishnamacharya, who's in most people's books the father of modern yoga, he belonged to uh, a particular sect and a particular religious background, and there are a caste of Brahmins called the Iyengars, and Iyengars, which there are, I think, maybe 500,000 Iyengars in Mysore and Bangalore in South India. That's what someone told me. And the only Iyengar I had ever heard of before I met BKS Iyengar, or the NS
Yes.
Iyengar, was BKS Iyengar, the famous Iyengar and Iyengar Yoga. And so the moment anyone in foreign countries hears the word Iyengar, they associate that,
Yeah.
Iyengar Yoga. But um, but anyway, I wanted to say that Kadachar is an Iyengar, and they belong to Vishishtadvaita of Ramanuja, and I'm just interested to hear the philosophy um, that comes from those people. So Kadachar is teaching me bit by bit a view of life and a view of spirituality, a view of God, a view of how, you Bhagavad Gita is not, it's not a practice in the same way that Patanjali, he's teaching like concentration, and he's teaching, talking about things that you should do. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is, those yogas are more like a different kind of view of life. And so it's one thing to chant it, it's one thing to read it, it's one thing, but to live it is really hard. So I'm working one day at a time. But Tadachar is my acharya. He's my spiritual
Yes.
teacher, and I believe that he's going to take me where I need to go. So I'm on that journey with him, and for better or worse, that's what I've decided to spend my time studying.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Really inspiring, Andrew. And somebody's asking you, what about your retreat center that now you are building? Looks like they search. They look that you are now building a
Yes.
retreat center and you are teaching online. So they are asking about that. How you feel, how it works, what is your plan or your goal or your dream? What are you doing right now with your yoga retreat in your town?
Well, I'm like everyone else in the world right now. I'm dealing with the new circumstances and situation that has arisen because of the coronavirus pandemic. And I miss so much teaching yoga in person and actually having that in person relation to my students. But it's driven me in many ways to become more creative and to work in other ways. So I'm teaching twice a week online, and Mila is teaching twice a week in English online and once in Russian language.
Wow.
I don't know if Russian language would be useful for you guys in Mexico, but uh,
No.
neither of us speak Spanish, unfortunately, at this point. um, so Ashtanga Yoga Studio is our website, and that's where you can, of course, see all of that information. Um, the retreat center has been kind of a long-term goal, but Mila and I we spent 2.5 months in Ukraine during the lockdown. There, the borders closed, and we were unable to come back to America, and that was a whole long story of its own. But the message that I got, watching all this come down, is I would like to be in nature. During the pandemic, I think many people who can afford to, who are able to, who have the capacity to go away from the cities and be in the nature, they're doing it.
Definitely.
Um, so it's family land, and it's also my father's church that he built and never completed before he
Mm,
passed.
I'm
And it was
sorry.
always his dream to have a kind of a spiritual center. And it's true that we come from a long line of Christian ministers, but
Mm,
but my father was multicultural and interested in yoga, interested in Native American philosophy and practice. He was broad-minded in that way. So um, that was just a message that I received in my own meditations and prayers and thoughts. I thought, well, if I can, I'm going to take us home and set up in the forest and try to do yoga in nature and create a place where other people can come and practice in nature. So that's what we're working on. We're on the one hand, we're dividing our time with we're playing around with microphones and mixers and videos and video cameras and all this technology stuff and internet stuff and
yes.
how exactly do we uh, teach a good online class, and I don't necessarily think I'm there at all, to be honest. I'm learning so much. But on the other hand, we're digging ditches and we're burying electrical lines and we're banging on hammers and nails and creating, doing construction work, which is something that I grew up with, and it's very familiar and natural for me because I did it with my father since I was a child. So we're you know we're going to put a floor and make a beautiful space to practice yoga and all spiritual practice. Really, I don't limit it to any uh, one thing, but we're going to do yoga retreats and try to let people come be in nature, swim in the creek. You've been here, you know about the creek,
Yes.
and
Yeah, it's
let
a beautiful
people
place.
basically just decompress from the city life. One
Definitely.
great thing about nature, trees and grass do not give you coronavirus. Medical science is pretty clear about that. So I don't think you have to worry too much about
No,
breathing some oxygen and being away from other people and relaxing here.
that's
So yeah, that's
amazing.
the dream, and it may take us a year or so to really bring that all to pass. But we're hoping more in like 6 months we'll be in a
Good.
position to invite our friends.
That's good. It's a good
Hmm.
time, actually. 6 months we can start traveling, I guess. So you talk about something.
I hope so. I hope you will come.
I hope so. You know me, maybe. With Misha, we will go. So you
Yeah.
talk about something very, very interesting, Andrew. In Minibudi yoga community, most of the people here are very, very active, practicing pranayama and meditation and Surya Namaskar. They are very involved in this practice. We are working very hard uh, to inspire people to practice every day. So and to listen the inner voice. And you just said that you receive a message in your practice. So for all the people who starts meditating and starts breathing and doing pranayama, how they can start like listen the inner voice, how you can advise us like a suggestion or an advice, how to start like listening our thoughts, the thoughts who guide us to follow our dreams. How does it work?
Well, it's tricky. It's tricky. Not every voice in our mind is the one to listen
That's very important.
to.
Yes, definitely.
I, um, there's some very funny jokes about that, but I won't go into that now. I would say yoga is a journey inside, and if you've studied Sankhya philosophy at all, and I know that you have, and I know that you share those things with your students, but the Prakriti is the matter and the material world, and the Purusha, of course, is the consciousness and the spirit, and the combination of those two is the life as we know it,
Mm.
and you can't neglect either side. But the discernment of the one and the other is yoga, and so as a person spends more time looking inside, of course, a lot of things will become more clear.
Okay.
And what I find is that it's about this vairagya. That if a person is in a state of desire, and we all want things, and I want things, and everybody wants something. But the more you're about wanting, the more that clouds your perception. And
Mm.
if I'm really wanting something, then I interpret the signals of the outside world in terms of, does this mean I'm going to get what I want or not? Is my desired object or circumstance or situation, is that moving further away or closer? Am I, and so I miss everything because I'm in state of desire. And Guruji says over and over, "Once are not God. God is not once." He says that. And some of the jokes that he makes and the innuendos, it takes me decades to catch. But what I noticed is that people who renounce and who just kind of surrender to what is and start following the path of the heart, they usually slowly settle into making some better decisions about their life and what they want. And but the idea of vision, the idea that you can have insight that comes from deep inside you and that tells you what to do, is very, very much a part of Nata Muni's Yoga Parampara, and it's a part, in fact, of all native cultures. Every shaman, every witch, every priestess, they all have that capacity of vision. And we Western sort of white folks in our Anglo world have really squashed that out of society. Don't daydream. There's only one world, it's the material world. Wake up and smell the coffee. This attitude, it's not very permissive of vision, of dreaming, and on the other hand, there's both sides. There's Prakriti and Purusha. So I advise people, especially if you're doing pranayama and you're meditating and you're practicing yoga, like you lie down in shavasana, you're going to have extraordinary experiences and moments where you feel yourself perhaps floating out of your body, perhaps in a very, very trance-like, relaxed state. You may see moments where you can see your whole life and everything is okay, and you're not worried about anything, and you feel full of love, and you feel like in this wonderful mood, and you understand that there are certain things you should do, and very naturally you just remember what those are and start to do them. And but at the other on the other side of that, sometimes people become ungrounded and spaced out. And if yeah, do your meditation, do your pranayama, listen to your heart, but pay your bills on time, and don't forget where your mobile phone is, and remember where your car keys are, and what time it is, and behave in the material world responsibly. And yoga is not an excuse to just space out and, I don't know, sit in trance all day and ignore the obligations of the family and the job and the life that we live. If you drive a car, you should really pay attention to the red light. And if you, there's the two sides. So, but if we look inside, if we spend time, and one of the things about the coronavirus, a lot of people are dying, and that's tragic and it's sad, and nobody likes to think about death. But death is the one certainty in life, and it's the root of all the philosophies and all the religions. And everybody who's ever lived has had the question in their mind sometime, and the older you get, the more that question comes: what happens when I die?
Yes.
And I know people who've died. What is my relationship to them now? That's it. If one of your parents should die, God forbid, but if you live long enough, these things happen. And then you just have this very natural curiosity about the other side. Like, where do they go? What happens to them now? What's my relationship to my father who passed? And so you start to question about the soul, and you start to question about uh, your core beliefs. And in the face of death and impermanence, what's really important to me? If I were going to die tomorrow, what would I really want to do today? And whatever that is what you should be doing anyway.
Yes.
Um, and really get in touch with purpose, and start living from that place. And that's important. A great yogi, a guy called Sailendra Sharma, who's the teacher of some of my good friends, I saw a quote of his that I never forgot. He said, "If you want to live a long and happy life, make sure that your soul doesn't get bored of living in your body." And I thought about that. And, being bored and having no purpose and just sitting in front of screens and just, and I don't know, and modern lifestyle. And there are just loads of folks, and myself at times, we don't know what we're doing. We don't have a
Yeah.
purpose. We're just screwing around and not engaging. So, if I had any advice to someone about how to survive the coronavirus paradigm, I would say get passionate about what you're doing, and do what you love, and get inspired, and really like figure out what it is deep in your heart that you need to do, and get on with it and start doing it because none
Yeah.
of us know how long we're here for.
Definitely.
And does yoga cure coronavirus? Is it an automatic? I don't think so. and, but what we can do to improve our chances of surviving should we contact the virus, and the virus will probably kill some people who practice yoga. I'm not saying that it can save, yoga can save everybody from coronavirus. That's a silly thing to say. But
Definitely.
heating the body every day, getting deeply inspired, listening and doing what you should be doing. Love your life. Have something going on that you're not just bored and hanging out waiting for the end. That's not a good idea at all right now. The end might show up. Um, and and then purify the diet. Try to like keep the pH in the body toward the alkaline side. Not eating a bunch of sugar all the time,
No.
and all the stuff that we all know to do about keep staying healthy is more relevant than ever before. Eating pure food, drinking pure water, simple food, staying away from refined sugar and chemicals, and take your herbs. Everybody's afraid to even talk. I don't know about in Mexico and Latin America, but But up here in America, people are like, in the face of the corona thing, they don't want to talk about herbs and vitamins
Oh,
very much. Everybody's shy even to say, but I say take your stuff, take your vitamin C and your echinacea and your elderberry and in Mexico you guys have
a lot.
all kinds of wonderful healing plants and your own traditions of healing and you should be using
Definitely.
all that knowledge because
Definitely.
it's more relevant than ever.
Definitely. And somebody's asking you, why did you choose Ashtanga? If you choose it, why? And why you start practicing Ashtanga? Somebody's asking about this.
It chose me.
You
It chose me.
it, but
I
quick
was
to answer.
14 and my father's friend came and he practiced Ashtanga yoga. I didn't know anything else. Um, so I practiced Ashtanga for many years and learned the series and then later I sort of branched out and I try everything, of course. And I don't say that Ashtanga is the only way or Ashtanga is should be for everybody. I just that's my background and I love it very much and I'm kind of evolving my own ideas of practice and that's that's what happens to everybody who does it for a long time. I'm 35 years into the journey, and the yoga teaches us what we need to do. But originally, I didn't choose anything. I didn't even know it was Ashtanga. I just thought it was yoga. So I
But now I
didn't go
saw,
shopping.
yeah,
I just showed.
this. And I saw that now you're teaching Raya Vinyasa Yoga. What is about these classes? If we took that class, what would be happening?
Well, it's sort of based on my experience and really my practice, and
Good.
it's just what I practice myself. And Guruji Vinasa Iyengar always said, "Work from gross to subtle." I know that you've heard him say that too. So I like to start with yoga therapy. And yoga therapy for me is wide open. Yoga therapy could mean anything. It could be psychological stuff. It could be dietary. It could be Ayurvedic. There's just so many things that could be under the heading of yoga therapy. But when I say yoga therapy in the context of Raja Vinyasa, I mean uh, healing movements for the body. We all have areas of our body that are too tight, and we have also areas of our body that are relatively weak. So Raja Vinyasa and the kind of yoga therapy we start with is it's just to prepare your body for structured practice. So we start out with somatic movements, with self massage, with and that element of it should be unique eventually. And in a class, I just kind of reel out like a salad bar of here's this technique, this technique, and eventually the students pick the ones that they need the most. And so after some preparation and gentle movement, um, then we do vinyasa practice, which is very much based on Ashtanga vinyasa. But vinyasa krama is a well-known idea in Mysore. And the idea that advanced students and long-time practitioners create their own kramas is totally accepted in the community at large. And it was only really it was more Americans and foreign practitioners who got so obsessed about the Ashtanga sequences and don't you dare change it. Don't you take out one vinyasa. Don't you take out one pose. You you have to you have to be able to do each pose perfectly before we'll give you another pose and as soon as you can't do one, you just have to stop there. I hate all that stuff. I didn't learn that way, and I feel like it creates injury, so I don't teach that way. That's why they call it practice. If you can't do something, you should keep practicing it. And so I like a freer sequence, but it has to be based on Surya Namaskar. Surya Namaskar is the ancient element in modern yoga, and it is essentially vinyasa. Vinyasa comes from Surya Namaskar. Ashtanga yoga, what we call Ashtanga yoga in the world amongst foreign practitioners is essentially yoga postures stuck together by vinyasa, which is nothing other than Surya Namaskar.
Yes.
So I really like to teach that kind of vinyasa krama, and I use some of my own ideas and variations, but it's based very much on Ashtanga yoga. So, and then at the end should be some kind of meditative practice, some kind of pranayam or mudra practice, and some meditation. So I see it like the three gunas. Tamas guna is working with the prakriti and doing this therapy. Lay on the floor and do little movements. And then Rajaguna is about movement and action. So it's rajasic and it moves and it sweats and it breathes. But then Sattva guna is about the meditation. And like as we age, what I find is if you don't move on into the meditation and into the deeper practices, you just miss the off ramp and move on into a desert of push-ups and repetitive movements that eventually wear out your body, and you end up like a beat-up old runner or something. It's not gracious, and it's like this asana is a means to an end, and once you get clean and strong and bright and happy and you're able to go deeper, you don't have to keep doing push-ups your whole life. You should maintain your body and take care of it. But so yeah, Raja Yoga is just those three things: yoga therapy, structured practice, and concentration and meditation, and try to add an element of all of them. And I just believe that when anybody has a desire to improve the quality of their life, their physical health, their state of mind, through their own effort, they should be empowered with the knowledge to do that. No matter who they are, no matter how old or young, how fat or skinny, how far out of shape, if anybody has that desire, we should try to help them. And the yoga should not just be a cult of physical fitness and youth and beauty and fashion. It should be really there to serve humanity, there to take care of everybody. And Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga struggles in that area. It's just so complex and powerful and structured that it doesn't always allow older people or people with injuries to practice.
Yes.
So yeah, that's essentially Raja Vinyasa Yoga.
It's
really wonderful. Just what I practice.
That's wonderful.
Whatever you want to call it. Oh, but Raja Vinyasa, because it's Hatha Yoga should lead to Raja Yoga. It should lead to Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi, which is Raja Yoga.
Yes.
And Raja Yoga because it should honor those great kings that gave us this asana practice in the first place, those kings from Mysore. If they weren't practicing Raja Yoga, then what were they practicing? They were Rajas. So.
Yes. Yeah, it is beautiful. And I guess even though the pandemic situation pushed us online, I guess somehow it's very positive because we can take classes with you. Now we can have access that in the past we couldn't. Now that we are in Mexico, there are people here from Colombia, from Panama, from Argentina. So there are people all around the world in Latin America that now we can have a class with you. So it could be bad, but also positive in our lives to share. So I hope, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm very grateful that you took your time. I know that you're super, super busy. What do you want to say? Sorry, Andrew.
My pleasure.
I know that you're super busy.
Right.
What? Sorry, Andrew, I interrupt you.
I'm very happy to. No. I was just saying thank you. Thank you. And you're right that the pandemic, in a way, it connects the whole global yoga community through the online world. And I really appreciate you inviting me. I'll be happy to speak again at any time. And I want to do the same thing for you and for other people is to, like, we all need to share.
Definitely.
And it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And hopefully we can host you here in Mexico and you can lead a retreat. This is one of my dreams. So you can come with Mila. And
Mine too.
it's in my dreams. So hopefully we can make it. You and Mila, you are super welcome to Mexico. You know that. So we can lead a yoga retreat with you. It will be an honor. And I guess everybody will be happy to take classes with you in presence.
Well, just as soon as things calm down with this pandemic, we absolutely want to come. And we're not very far away from you.
No, we're super close.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Everybody's super, super happy to meet you. I guess they will watch the documentary. Hopefully, very soon it will be in Spanish. And maybe they will take your classes. It will be lovely. Everybody's happy and saying thank you to you. They are very grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Much love, and we'll talk
much
soon.
Love and respect.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Namaste, Andrew.
Namaste.
Namaste.